The polished mahogany table gleamed under the harsh, artificial lights of the boardroom, a stark stage for the performance unfolding at its head. Alex stood there, not just occupying space, but commanding it, his voice a steady, persuasive instrument that filled the air with the scent of ambition and unproven potential. He was a junior employee, his tenure measured in months, yet he carried himself with the unshakable authority of a veteran. With a series of slick slides and sweeping hand gestures, he painted a vision of viral marketing campaigns and exponential user growth, his every word dripping with a confidence so absolute it felt contagious. Across the table, Sam watched, her fingers tracing the cool edge of her laptop. A data analyst with years of experience etched into her thoughtful gaze, she saw the presentation not as a vision, but as a structure built on sand. Her mind, a well-oiled machine of logic and patterns, immediately identified the critical flaws, the misapplied metrics, the optimistic projections untethered from market saturation data, the complete disregard for customer acquisition costs. A correction formed on her lips, a quiet, rational observation, but it died there. The room was electric with Alex's conviction, and her own certainty wavered under its glare. Perhaps she was missing something. Perhaps her meticulous nature was just a form of timidity. The weight of her expertise felt like a burden, not a tool, in the face of such dazzling, unfounded bravado. The manager, Mr. Davison, leaned forward, his eyes locked on Alex, a smile playing on his lips. He was captivated by the sheer force of the presentation, the bold claims that promised easy victories. When Sam finally managed to voice a hesitant, "But the Q3 data suggests," her words were a pebble dropped into a roaring river, creating not a ripple of concern, but a moment of awkward silence before being swept away by Alex's quick, dismissive reassurance. He reframed her valid point as a minor detail, an obstacle his grand strategy would effortlessly overcome. As the meeting concluded, Mr. Davison clapped Alex on the shoulder, praising his innovative thinking and go-getter attitude. The praise was a tangible thing, warming the air around Alex, who accepted it as his due. Sam packed her laptop slowly, the hollow echo of the manager's accolades ringing in her ears. She left the room surrounded by the lingering energy of Alex's illusion, a stark contrast to the cold, hard truth of the data that now felt like her solitary, and perhaps insignificant, burden. The project landed on their desks like a declaration of war, a high-stakes initiative to overhaul the company's entire digital outreach. Alex was assigned the flashy, front-end campaign, the very one he had pitched with such bravado. He attacked the work with the same unshakable confidence, seeing the complex code and intricate user interface designs not as challenges, but as puzzles he was born to solve. He worked in a whirlwind of self-assured activity, his keyboard clattering a rapid, optimistic rhythm. When senior developers left cautious feedback in the shared documents, pointing out non-scalable architecture or potential security flaws, he dismissed their comments as the overcautious nitpicking of those afraid to innovate. His limited knowledge was a cage he couldn't see, and his overconfidence painted the bars as open doors. He made basic, fundamental errors in the data integration layer, errors that would prove catastrophic, all while believing he was building something revolutionary. In the adjacent cubicle, Sam's world was one of quiet, methodical unraveling. Tasked with the back-end data infrastructure, she dove into the labyrinth of server protocols and database schemas. Each layer she peeled back revealed another, more complex than the last. The initial plan, which had seemed so straightforward in the boardroom, now sprawled before her in a web of interdependencies and potential failure points. Her screen was a mosaic of code and complex queries, and with every line she wrote, a fresh wave of doubt washed over her. The sheer scale of the task made her own considerable skills feel minuscule. She double-checked, triple-checked, her progress slow and painstaking, haunted by the fear that she was missing some monumental, obvious flaw that would bring the entire system crashing down. The day of the project review arrived, the air in the conference room thick with anticipation. Alex presented first, his delivery as polished and self-assured as ever. He clicked a button to launch the live demo. For a glorious 3 seconds, the interface looked perfect. Then, the first error message flashed. Then another. The user authentication system failed, a cascade of bugs erupted, and the entire demo platform froze and crashed, leaving a stark error log on the screen that told a story of profound, foundational incompetence. The silence that followed was louder than any crash. Alex's confidence shattered in an instant, his face a mask of stunned disbelief. His spectacular failure was not just a technical glitch, it was the implosion of his entire self-perception. Then it was Sam's turn. With a quiet, hesitant breath, she initiated her systems. The data pipelines activated, flowing seamlessly. The analytics dashboards lit up, not just functioning, but delivering insights cleaner, faster, and more profound than the initial specifications had demanded. Her work didn't just succeed, it excelled, a masterclass in robust, elegant engineering. The shock in the room was palpable, but it was a different kind. A stunned admiration that slowly turned toward Sam, who seemed as surprised by the result as anyone. Later, in the quiet of her office, their mentor, Eliza, laid the pieces out for them. She explained the cruel irony of the Dunning-Kruger effect, how Alex's minimal knowledge had created a cognitive blind spot, leaving him unable to accurately assess his own incompetence. His confidence was a byproduct of his ignorance. For Sam, Eliza explained, her extensive knowledge had given her a clear view of the vast landscape of what she did not know, making her painfully aware of every potential pitfall and complexity. Her doubt was not a weakness, but the hallmark of her hard-won expertise. In that moment, the truth unraveled for them both, one confronted by the wreckage of his overestimation, the other beginning to see her self-doubt in an entirely new and validating light. The silence in Alex's cubicle was a heavy, unfamiliar shroud. The ghost of his failed demo seemed to linger in the flicker of his monitor, the crumpled notes, the stark emptiness where his confidence had once resided. For days, he moved through the office like a phantom, the memory of the crashing system and the ensuing, pitying glances a constant, humiliating echo. The bravado that had once felt like a superpower was now exposed as a liability, a loud, garish mask hiding a profound emptiness. He finally understood the weight of the words his mentor had spoken. His ignorance had been the very fuel for his arrogance. The path forward, he realized with a clarity that was both painful and liberating, began not with another bold idea, but with a quiet, honest admission. He did not know. He found Sam at her desk, her focus absolute as she parsed through a new stream of data. Approaching her felt like crossing a chasm. The memory of dismissing her in the boardroom was a fresh wound. He stood for a moment, the words stuck in his throat, before he simply said he needed her help. There was no pitch, no spin, just a raw and unvarnished request. To his surprise, Sam didn't gloat or turn him away. She looked up, and in her eyes he saw not triumph, but a quiet understanding. She pushed a chair toward him with her foot, her gaze returning to the screen. It was a small gesture, but it was an invitation onto solid ground. As they began to dissect the ashes of his project, a new dynamic was born. Alex learned to listen, truly listen, to the intricate logic behind Sam's methods. He saw how her initial hesitance was not indecision, but a careful mapping of complexity. She explained how she navigated her work, not with blind faith, but with a system of continuous, small validations, checking her work against known benchmarks, seeking peer review on the most minute details, embracing feedback as an essential tool for course correction. This meticulous process, she shared, was what kept her from the cliff's edge of overconfidence. It was a constant, humbling reminder of the vastness of what she had yet to learn. For the first time, Alex saw competence not as a dull alternative to flashy ideas, but as a deep, powerful current. They were assigned a new, smaller initiative, a chance to rebuild. This time, Alex worked in Sam's shadow, his role not to lead with grand visions, but to support with diligent execution. He asked questions constantly, no longer afraid of appearing ignorant, understanding now that the question was the first step toward knowledge. He valued the quiet certainty of a well-written line of code over the empty thunder of a bold claim. And as they worked, Sam, in turn, began to recognize her own worth not as an abstract concept, but in the tangible, excellent results of her labor. Watching Alex genuinely learn from her, she started to shed the imposter syndrome that had plagued her, her quiet confidence solidifying into a quiet strength. The story of their collaboration became a quiet legend in the department, not for its explosive success, but for its profound lesson. Alex learned to walk the path of humility, finding a more authentic power in curiosity and a respect for genuine expertise. Sam learned to trust the weight of her own knowledge, her voice growing steadier, her presence more assured. They both carried forward the understanding that true mastery in their field and in life was not about having all the answers, but about having the wisdom to acknowledge the questions and the courage to grow in the vast, beautiful space between knowing